What's going on, y'all? It's William Beckman.
Honky Tonk Blues.
Connect Del Rio presents a one-on-one with William Beckman and three-time Emmy Award winner Chris Saldaña in partnership with Mesquite Creek Outfitters. The exclusive interview premieres now here on Connect Del Rio.
Hello, I'm Chris Saldaña, a proud Del Rio native, and I'm excited to be partnering with Connect Del Rio and Mesquite Creek Outfitters for this rare opportunity, a sit-down interview with someone who is also from Del Rio. At 29, he's already played at the Grand Ole Opry 5 times, and in 2022 and in 2023, he played in more than 100 shows. In fact, 5 of his consecutive songs have hit the top 20 in the Texas regional radio charts. He sold out the legendary Green Hall 5 times in Green, Texas, and he's just getting started. Please welcome William Beckman, who joins me now. William, thanks so much for being with us.
Chris, thank you for having me.
Days ago, you just released your new single, which is Honky Tonk Blue. We could
Yes.
keep talking about everything that you've done in 29 years, but Honky Tonk Blue is just where we're at right now. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so Honky Tonk Blues, the 4th song off of this new record that I recorded. The name of the album is Whiskey, Lies, and Alibis. It's my first album with a record company, with Warner Brothers, Warner Nashville, and yeah, the new song's Honky Tonk Blue. It's actually a Chris Stapleton song. Not a lot of people know that, but I was handed a demo of this song months ago, and I fell in love with the tune.
So you said Chris Stapleton and your eyes lit up, right? Because he is a big name, obviously, in the country music industry. Right. You're becoming that big name. When you...
I don't know about that, I mean, but yeah.
Own it, right? Own it. We're very proud of you. So when you got it from Chris Stapleton, did you do a double take and think, wait, is this really from the Chris Stapleton?
No, but I knew, because in Nashville, there's a lot of demos that get passed around that Chris Stapleton had either written or sung the demo for. And so it's like a well-known thing that sometimes you get these demos and it's undeniably him, you know, because he's got such a unique voice. But I asked if I could sing, if I could cut the song, and my people reached out to his folks, and initially he said no, because he liked the song so much he was kind of wanting it for himself. And I was like, man, that's a bummer. And then a couple months go by and we asked again, and again he's like, man, respectfully, like I think, you know, they're gonna keep it for themselves. And then we asked the 3rd time, and I guess I might have annoyed him enough to where he's like, you know what, the dude can have the song, and he finally let me record it, and so that's how it kind of happened.
3rd time's a charm.
3rd time's a charm, I guess. But,
and it worked for you.
And I've never met Stapleton. I'm such a huge fan, but if he's watching, thank you for letting me sing your song.
Yeah, I mean, persistence pays off, right?
Right.
So from Nashville, let's come back to Del Rio, your hometown, my hometown as well.
Right.
We're in Mesquite Creek Outfitters. What is it like when you're able to come home to do what you're doing? You've had 2 shows. You're going to have 2 shows here in Del Rio. You've come home for holiday specials, but what is it like to come home to Del Rio?
Man, it's everything for me. I obviously, because we tour so much, we're always traveling. It can be like a really fast-paced kind of lifestyle. And when I come to Del Rio, everything kind of slows down, and I swear that the clock kind of slows down, and I'm able to kind of unwind and recenter, I guess. My whole family lives here, man.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get to see my little nephew and my niece and hang out with my folks and stuff. I don't get to do that very often, and it's kind of a change of pace for me. So it's quite enjoyable when I'm here.
Yesterday when we were chatting, you had just come back from reading to some kids at Sacred Heart.
Yes.
So giving back to the community is also a big part of when you come home, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. They'd asked me to, when I was younger, I went to school at Sacred Heart Catholic School right down the road, and the principal had asked if I would come and speak to the kids, which that kind of always makes me, I'm not one for giving advice, you know, that's just kind of how I am by nature, but I went out there and just kind of told them a little bit about my story and about what I do and the fact that I'm from Del Rio, and it was really cool to see those kids, you know, smile.
And it reminded you where you came from.
Absolutely, because I was sitting there right where they were, and I just told them what I feel in my heart. You know, I love Del Rio, and sometimes growing up in a small town, it can be challenging to dream big and think that those sorts of things are possible. But obviously, if you got a passion for something, I mean, go get it.
So, William, you have been compared to George Strait, George Jones, and I'm going to add in somebody that I think you have just a personal, I have a connection with him because of his music, but Frank Sinatra, the voice that you have, and I lived in Vegas for 10 years.
Oh, did you really?
I really did, and I just grew to love the Rat Pack even more, and so I hear that. When you hear these comparisons, what does it make you feel like?
I have a hard time believing that just because I'm myself, but obviously it's a compliment to be compared to such legends. I, too, am a massive Sinatra fan, and George Jones, George Strait, Hank Williams, all the older country, but even some of the, some of the newer stuff too, I'm big fans of. But yeah, it's always flattering, it's a cool feeling knowing that people listen to you and they're reminded of a certain legend that I'm like, in my mind, I'm as far away from that caliber. But
you were familiar with their music, right? You grew up
sure.
You've just been listening to a lot of these musicians for years, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. I listened to every George Strait album, Alan Jackson. Of course, being from Del Rio, Radney Foster was a very big influence on me, and so I listened to all his records growing up. But yeah, I'm always like a sponge, constantly trying to listen to new things and see what I like about certain artists. That was one thing that when I was first learning how to play, I remember doing that a lot. I would listen to George Strait because I liked the way he sang, or I would listen to so-and-so because I liked the songwriting of it or whatever, or I'd listen to Bruce Springsteen because of the guitar parts or whatever. I was always trying to take the elements of the things that I liked and put it in a melting pot and kind of make my own thing out of it.
You made your own thing, and you continue to make your own thing, so that's a
Trying.
good thing. At the top of this interview, we talked about you playing in more than 100 shows in 2022 and in 2023. You've opened for big names like Hank Williams Jr., Radney Rogers Band, Parker McCollum. Tell me about this, and who would you maybe like to open for one day that you haven't?
Well, we mentioned George Strait. That'd be a dream. I've gotten to become good buddies with Zach Top, and I love what he's doing. I'd love to hop on some shows with him. The list goes. It's always changing too, and so many names get thrown at you, But yeah, I'd have to say those two.
And when you opened for, names like Hank Williams Jr. and the Radney Rogers, what was that like when you got that call?
Hank Williams Jr. was definitely a wild one. We did them in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and it was Hank Williams Jr., Charlie Crockett, who's a friend of mine, and I was the first of three, and I'd never seen Hank Jr. ever in my life, and it's insane for him at his age to still put on the crazy show that it is insane. I'm telling you, it was out of this world, and he still throws it down, man. It was insane. So it was awesome. I got to take a picture with him. I didn't get to say much to him, but he's a trip, man, in the best way possible. I'm such a fan.
That's great that you're able to do that. I've met some of your band here and there. Mm-hmm. What is it like to be on the road and take your show on the road? We were just talking, you said 10 guys to one bus.
Yeah, it's
not as comforting as people think, right?
No, it's always, you got a lot of roommates. Of course, every town, every city, every show's different, but you meet a lot of interesting people along the way. I love what I do. I get really kind of antsy if I stay in one place too long, and I think most of us guys on the road are kind of like that. After about 3 or 4 days in one spot, I don't.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. I live part-time in San Antonio and part-time in Nashville, and and of course we're always on the road too, but depending on what city I'm in, I'll last about 4 or 5 days before I go to the other one. I'm just bouncing back and forth.
I think you're really big on complimenting your band, right? And so talk to me about your band. I did watch your documentary, The Road to Acuña. The connection that you have with them in that documentary, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I love my guys. I'm very lucky to work with them and to have them. But yeah, the one that's been with me the longest is my drummer, Jeremy. He's the one that actually had a big hand in getting the band together. He knew a lot of guys that I didn't know. I lived in Nashville full-time before I kind of relocated back in Texas and started touring a lot in Texas, and so he knew more people than I did. I knew more people in Nashville, just because that city's got guitar players and drummers walking around. You could throw a rock and hit, enough people to make a band together. But yeah, I've got one of the best bands and crews in the entire, what I think in the entire world. So I'm lucky to have them.
I don't know if the viewers can hear, but we can hear them. They're actually
they're jamming right now.
They're jamming out right now, trying to get ready for your next show. Yep. So moving on, coming home for that concert at the Corona Club. That was first off, that documentary was just so well done. It was just quick and easy to follow. I grew up going to Corona Club, right? And so coming home
I did too. I don't remember a lot of it, but I was
so
there.
you can relate to that, right? So that was historic for you. That was actually also a personal goal for yours, right? To take back a show of that magnitude, because they were known for shows like that, and it had stopped for a while, and then you wanted to do something like that.
Absolutely. When, at 29 years old, when I was in high school here in Del Rio, by then they had stopped doing those big blowout street parties and spring break concerts and stuff. And I remember vaguely when I was a little bit younger that they were, they would do these big Corona Club things. But yeah, by the time I got old enough to enjoy it myself, it had kind of disappeared. And so I just hear these stories. My parents would tell these stories of like when Pat Green and Cross Canadian Ragweed and the Randy Rogers Band, a lot of guys that I tour with and that are my friends now, used to do it. Robert O'Keen is another one. You can still go in there on the wall and see all of the posters and all of the flyers from when they used to do it. But yeah, it'd been like 20 years or something like that is what they had told me.
Yeah.
Jera, who's a friend of mine who owns the Corona Club, he told me, yeah, it's been a long time since anybody's done it. And I said, well, why don't we do it?
Nice.
And it was kind of, we just threw it out there, and he's like, man, that'd be cool, but I don't think anybody really took it serious. And then I remember I was in Acuña, and I made a TikTok with the Corona Club in the background.
Right.
And I still kind of wasn't all that serious about really trying to do it, but I just said, hey, how fun would it be if I did a show at the Corona Club? And that thing kind of went viral, and then all of these people started asking, like, hey, when's the Corona Club thing? And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And so it kind of turned into this thing, and I was like, man, let's try to do it, and we did it.
So, Jera Garza.
Yeah.
So, talking about how small Del Rio is, he's a classmate of mine. I
No
went to high
kidding,
school with him. I
yeah.
just saw him a couple weeks ago. So yeah, so that's how
Love
small
that
Del Rio
guy.
is. Yeah, great guy there. So, so you made it happen, right? And that was
We
it
did.
did well. I mean,
We
did
did,
well.
and it was a little nerve-wracking just because it hadn't been done in so long that I really have to give a lot of credit to Jera and my parents. There's a lot of people that got involved to kind of pull it off and make it all happen. But we did it, and there was people from not just the local community here. There was people that drove in from all over, from the big cities in Texas. And I met people that said, man, we came all the way from Dallas for this because we haven't been at a show in Acuña in 20 years. And I was like, well, I'm glad I could do that.
Take them back to what you experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned your parents. Your parents are very hands-on. I met them yesterday. I see your mom and dad earlier today are just setting things up for you. How important has it been for them to just to support you, guide you? I met your brother yesterday, your nephew. It seems like it's a family affair for you, that you don't lose.
For sure. Specifically when it comes to me coming back home and playing, we're working towards, part of the reason I'm here playing these shows at Mesquite Creek and Del Rio are to kind of get a snowball effect of us coming and bringing more live entertainment here. There's been a couple venues that have opened and closed in Del Rio, but there's not like a one solid place. Unfortunately, the Paul Pogue Theater right next to us is shut down, and they've been talking about trying to bring it back up. I'm not exactly sure where they're at on that, but I love my hometown enough to want to play here. It's sometimes difficult to find the right place. Mesquite Creek seemed like the best place to do it, but since we are having to self-promote these shows, I had to call in the big guns. I'm like, Mom, Dad, brother, everybody, y'all are gonna have to help me, put this together because we're kind of doing it ourselves. But that kind of goes back into what Del Rio's all about, man. You got family, you got friends. I mean, I couldn't have pulled this off by myself. I couldn't have done the Acuña thing by myself, but I was blessed enough to have a good group of people behind me.
The big guns are still going. I see your mom out there taping the tables.
Back and forth.
She's going out there. She's working hard. If someone that's never been to one of your shows, William, how would you describe it to them?
How would I describe my shows to them? We try to take people like on a journey. I got fast songs, really slow, sensitive songs. There's a couple portions of the show where I play electric guitar and solo and stuff. And of course, I grew up in Del Rio singing in Spanish. I love mariachi music, so I'll always try to throw in one or two songs in Spanish. But my biggest thing is I love to entertain. I love to, my goal with any of my shows are to give the audience something that they that I know for a fact they wouldn't be able to see or get anywhere else. So I really try to take people on a roller coaster of a journey when it comes to my songs and the way we construct the set list and kind of the different moments in the show.
Yeah, a lot of people that I know that I'm from Del Rio, and the minute you sang El Rey at the Grand Ole Opry,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people were messaging me. I was getting the
Vicente.
clips. Yeah, so how important is that to combine your heritage, right? You're very proud Mexican American. How important is it for you to keep both close to what you do?
Extremely important. And it's funny because, and I don't have to tell you because you grew up here as well, like, I never thought that singing mariachi music or singing any sorts of songs in Spanish was that crazy, because I grew up here, and that was when I was in a band with the guy that taught me how to play guitar. We were still in high school, and we were playing Maná, we were playing Los Bukis, we were playing Santana songs. I mean, we just threw those songs in there because we knew the crowd was going to like that.
Yeah.
And so when I left Del Rio and I went to college, and then I eventually moved to Nashville, I would throw in a song in Spanish, and people thought it was insane.
Right.
Like, where did that come from? I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's just what we do, you know?
Song in Spanish for my friends from Del Rio. If you're just here visiting and you don't know who I am, well, I hope you're able to go home and take a little piece of Del Rio, Texas with you tonight. Thank you. Y volver, volver, volver.
And I remember being kind of taken aback. I was like, oh my God, like, of course this is crazy to them, because they didn't grow up where I grew up, where it's so natural to somebody like you or myself. And that was when I was like, well, I need to do this all the time, because for people, you know, if I'm playing somewhere in Connecticut or somewhere where you wouldn't expect somebody to kind of just bust out in a Spanish song, I think it's really kind of cool to showcase where you're from and kind of wear that on your sleeve. So that was the reason I did it at the Grand Ole Opry. If I'm being honest, I was kind of nervous about it because I wasn't sure how it was going to go over.
Really?
But I just was like, you know what, we're going to do it. We did it.
And the crowd went crazy.
They did,
The crowd
yeah.
went crazy. That clip just blew up.
There was so many people. I've got to say about that. That was the first time I played the Grand Ole Opry, so it was my debut. And man, Del Rio came in for that one. Yeah, there was hundreds of people. My parents' friends, my friends, all you name it, like old high school teachers and stuff. It was insane.
And now you've done it 5 times.
Now we've done it 5 times. They keep calling me back, and they got to call you. They have to invite you to come and play. And every time I get that phone call, it's always
Well,
cool.
they're calling you back for a reason.
Let's
be honest, right? They're calling you back for a reason. All right, so let's go back to Honky Tonk Blue, because that's the latest single, right? And I have to tell you, your video was hilarious, and it was hilarious, but it was also captivating.
Thank you.
I think people can relate to that, right? Because we've all been to a bar. It's been a bar scene. What was it like shooting that video for that song?
So,
and by the way, people they can watch the video too now, right? Like, where can they get to that video? And
just
the song?
just Honky Tonk Blue is the name of the song. There's an official music video that we did for it, and we actually filmed that music video at Copeland Dance Hall, which is kind of outside of Austin, and we've played there once before, but it's just like one of those old-timey kind of dance halls, and we rented the place out for the afternoon, and it was just me and my band. Initially, we wanted it to be where we were going to bring a bunch of extras and a bunch of people to pack the place out. We were going to be on stage playing, and then we shifted the idea to just me and the band on the dance floor, and we were just going to have fun with it, and we had a couple different bar fight scenes where my band's, you know.
It was them, right? It was the band.
That's my whole
That's
band.
what I thought. It was like, it was a band that's reenacting the bar. You could tell you were all having a great time.
We did.
And I think that's what the viewers are going to take to that video, is like, it's a fun, you know, backdrop, but then the song just captivates.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to shoot that, and I love the song. Like I said, I consider it a privilege and an honor to get to record a song that Bryce Long and Chris Stapleton. Bryce Long's a friend of mine that I've written several songs with, and Stapleton, of course, is one of the greatest talents in country music right now. But yeah, like I'm very like, I'm meticulous about a lot of things, and I want to do, especially if it's a song that's not mine, I want to do it justice. And so when it comes to the recording process, when I do it live, the visuals for it, I always try to make sure that I'm doing something that I know I can look back on in, 25 years, and it's like, I was proud of that. I was a lot younger back then than I am now, but I was tasteful.
And you remember it, right?
Absolutely.
You remember the process of when that was going on.
That's what I always tell my band or my guys, I work with people. I said, these songs are going to live forever. They're gonna outlive you. You know, like my
It's-
great grandbabies are gonna someday look at that video and be like, that was my great grandpa. Like I want to make sure that I'm doing it to where you're almost leaving these like
It's a legacy.
this legacy behind. It's like a time capsule too, you know, and I'm always thinking about that. I'm always weird like that. So when I approach my art, whether it's doing a video, whether it's writing a new song, or you know, doing an interview, like I always just try to make sure that I'm doing it right. You know, that's how I've always been passionate about art.
Don't ever lose that.
Thank
Don't
you.
ever lose that, because that's very important, especially when you know you want to leave that legacy behind, right?
Absolutely.
So Honky Tonk Blue, is it part of potential new music?
Yeah, whole
Potentially,
new
is
album.
it? All right, so talk to us about the new album.
Yeah, the new album's called Whiskey, Lies, and Alibis. It's a really, it took me a little while to make it. You know, it took about a year, but I wrote so many different songs with incredible writers in Nashville. And kind of like my show, it's intended to take you on quite a bit of a journey. You know, there's songs that sound different than each other, and that's kind of how I've always wanted albums to be like that. When albums sort of all sound the same, you know, there's albums that are like that, conceptual albums that are awesome, but I've always loved to mix it up. You know, I want it to be cool and take you on a different ride.
As we wrap up, and I know you're very humble with some of these accolades that we've been talking about. At the very beginning, when I was introducing you, you were just kind of taken back by everything that I've been sharing of what you've done so far, and the list continues to grow. But as we wrap up, we must talk about your voice, right? That power of, it's just powerful, and I tell you that. But I wanted to share what some people have been saying about it, right? Did you ever think you'd be getting the recognition like you've had from like Grammy.com that describes you as captivating country, Texas Monthly describes you as honest storytelling and undeniable energy, and we're getting to this, so I'm going to bring this to you in just a bit. But Billboard describes your voice as burnished baritone, smooth and potent, and as a top shelf bourbon, right? And is one that every country music fan needs to hear. When you hear that from Grammy.com, Billboard, Texas Monthly, these are big publications. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's a huge payoff. You know, to get that sort of recognition and the compliments, it can kind of sometimes be uncomfortable, if I'm being honest, because I've never viewed myself in any sort of way like that. But to hear somebody say that, it definitely makes me feel good. I've just always really worked hard at trying to sing as best as I can, and you know, make the best out of the voice God gave me, and this is the one I have, so it's cool. Yeah.
So, well, you're very humble. You're still very humble about it. Yeah, you're still very humble about it. So, and
I didn't always have this voice, by the way. You can listen to some old recordings. I had to work at it.
And it's paying off. So, Mesquite Creek Outfitters is known for their black walnut old fashioned.
Okay.
And we described you as, well, I didn't. You know, you've been described by Billboard as a top shelf bourbon. It's made with bourbon.
Right.
And so, I think we just wanted to give you a toast and thank you for everything.
Salud.
Yeah, salud, and thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank
and
you.
As we wrap up, this is obviously partnership with Connect Del Rio and Mesquite Creek Outfitters. So cheers, salud, and good luck to you,
Chris.
and hopefully you continue to succeed, because we want to have you back. We want to keep doing this. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.